All right. Okay, good. So, welcome everybody. My name is Frank Grimm. I'm a professor of computer science at Zwickau University of Applied Sciences, and I have the privilege to speak to you about programming. Unfortunately, I was told that I will speak to pupils, so young people. And as I can tell from the video stream, and I mean no offense, but there seem to be some grown-ups in the auditorium, so we might have to switch topics a bit, because I prepared workshops for beginners, for very young people who would like to know something about programming. But as I can tell, just one more sentence. I guess there are people amongst you who already program, so we might have to adapt to your skills a bit, but that's no problem, I guess.
Well, actually, you're right, there are some students, some grown-ups, but there are some pupils as well from schools. There is kind of a mixture. But those who are present, they don't know programming perfectly well, so I think your lecture will be suitable for them. So that's fine what you prepared, I guess. Okay? So you don't...
Okay, so let's see. Okay.
Вы же ведь ничего не знаете в программировании, правильно? Yeah, that's fine.
So by show of hands, who of you already knows programming?
Кто знает программирование? Уже руки поднимите. Nobody knows, as you see.
I can see one.
One hand.
Sorry?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see one hand.
Just one.
That's good. That's perfect, because I prepared a very beginner-friendly introduction to programming. So I guess we can just commence with what I've prepared, and if you feel like I'm not at your level of knowledge, please just tell me. Please interrupt me. Raise your hand. Just tell me if I'm too slow, or if I'm too quick. Just let me know. All right. And even if I'm speaking too quickly, I'm more than happy to slow down and repeat. All right.
Хорошо, иногда кивайте, что делать.
Good. So, as I said, I prepared a course, a lecture for people who haven't done any programming yet. So we will start very slow. And I guess you are familiar with using computers. But I can see that at least some of you do not have a computer in front of you. Is that right?
Вы все знаете компьютер, но ни у кого нет компьютера перед глазами, правильно? Да. Yes. That's right.
Okay. That's complicating the matter a bit, but we will deal with this. I will try to adopt the lecture to you not having a computer in front of you.
Сейчас адаптируем таким образом, чтобы вы, не имеющие компьютеров,
I was told that everyone will have a computer. That's why this is a hands-on course to programming. So since you do not have a computer, it's not so much hands-on. But we will manage.
Но мы справимся.
Don't worry.
Не волнуйтесь.
Okay, so let's start with something very simple, and I hope I do not offend you when I show you the next slide, which is about a programming language which is more or less for childs. So I mean no offense, and we can go quickly through the slides and do something
Он боится, чтобы вас не обидеть.
more
Если он сильно медленно говорит, вы можете подумать, что он как бы о вас думает хуже, если быстро. То есть как бы всегда говорите и обратно.
Show everybody what programming is about, and that's why I chose this.
Сейчас просто расскажу, что такое программирование.
Very simple programming language.
И самый простой язык программирования.
But before we program, or before we talk about programming, what is programming after all? Well, as you probably know, it's telling a machine, a computer, what to do. So it's giving commands to the computer, to a machine, so it does something. And computers can, the computers you are used to can really do anything. They are so-called general purpose computers, and they are up to any task that someone is capable of programming. So you can really have your computer do anything you want, as long as there is somebody who knows how to tell the computer what to do. And that's why we are here today, I guess. And programming is really not so much about typing in commands, but it's about understanding what to type. And that's probably the bigger part of a programmer's or software developer's job. It's understanding the problem, then coming up with some high-level solution to the problem, then using your keyboard to punch in the program, the commands given to the computer, and after you've finished your program, of course you have to test the program in order to determine whether it does the thing you imagined it to do or whether it fails. And I can tell you, more often than not, your program will fail in the first run. It's very common that you spend a lot of time debugging your program and testing it and making your program do what it's supposed to do. Am I speaking too quickly?
Говорю я быстро, нет?
Нормально.
Скажите, что нормально.
Okay. Alles in Ordnung, okay.
Alles in Ordnung, alles klar, okay.
Все в порядке, все ясно.
Vielleicht kann ich an der Kamera noch etwas richten. Moment bitte. Ah ja, jetzt können Sie mich sogar noch etwas besser sehen. Okay, so let's start with some programming. And as I said, it's a very simple style of programming. And I mean no offense. If you feel like we should move on and skip some of this, just tell me. It's really no problem to move faster than I originally planned. Alright?
Нормально вам эта тема или надо выше тему вам? То есть.
Good. So what I wanted to show you is a programming language called Scratch. And Scratch is a really simple but very powerful programming language that is mainly targeted for kids, for children to get into programming. And that's why you have all these funny characters like the cat and I don't know what this is, and the fish, and you can make those things move and turn around and say something and a lot of things. You can even program apps for your mobile device, for your tablet or your cell phone, your smartphone. So for those of you who have a computer in front of you,
Если у вас есть компьютер,
could
то
you
перед собой.
please go to this website, scratch.mit.edu.
Веб-сайт scratch.com. Можете зайти, если есть. Видно, да, Scratch? Ну, scratch.com, да?
Не, выше, вот в самом низу страницы большая ссылка.
А вон там было где-то.
Ну, вот, вот.
Сейчас только было.
Alright, did the people with the computers in front manage to access this
Получилось у вас
website?
найти этот сайт, у кого компьютер? Скажите, что да.
Yes.
Alles okay? Ja, wir haben das probiert. Es geht.
Und Sie sehen die Website?
Видно вам веб-сайт? Да.
Sehen Sie die Website?
Ja, du siehst, alles in Ordnung. Okay.
Alright. Okay. So if you click on, alright, I have to change to English.
Сейчас он на
Just a
английский
second.
переключит.
Oh, where is it? English. There it is. Alright, so if you click on Create,
Если нажмете на вот эту вкладку Create,
you will see
то увидите
a website which allows you to create programs in
веб-сайт,
Scratch.
который вам позволит программировать вот в этом Scratch.
And it's, as I said, it's really simple.
Как уже было сказано, он очень прост.
For example, we can make
Например, мы
Scratch
можем сделать
the little cat move.
маленького вот этого кота заставить двигаться.
So we can give it a command, which really is programming. So if we choose the move block
Находится вот в этой вот
and
блоке.
say, okay,
И
right,
мы
let's move
можем
10 steps.
10
And we click on this little
нажмем на эту маленькую
green flag here and then click the
зеленую
move
кнопку и нажмем на
block. You can see it moves. Alright,
она начинает двигаться.
that's pretty easy, isn't it?
Очень легко, правильно? Кивайте, говорите, да.
But we've done some programming. Very simple programming,
Таким
but
образом, мы уже сделали какой-то шаг
accomplished
программирования,
our first
и она
program.
уже завершена, эта задача.
The next thing is that we can,
Следующее, что мы можем
instead of
сделать,
pressing
например, вместо нажатия,
this block to make Scratch move, we can use a so-called loop.
луп использовать.
Цикл.
Let me find it. Here it is.
Вот
It's a
он.
so-called forever loop. And I will go into details about loops later, but
Об этом
just
мы
let me show you what it
поговорим.
does.
Сейчас
So what it says is that
функциями, что можно
this
сделать.
move command is repeated forever.
То
So
есть
you
эта
loop
команда двигаться будет повторяться все время.
forever and
Вот если вы в
repeat
лупе
this move
поставили,
command.
то
So if we
эта
click on
команда
the
постоянно в
forever
действии находится.
block,
Вот видите, все, побежало.
Scratch will just move and move and move until it reaches
пока не достигнет
the end of the screen,
конца экрана.
which is unfortunate because we can't see
Это
him
не очень
anymore.
хорошо, потому что
Or
дальше
her,
мы уже
I don't
ничего
know.
не видим. Его и
Whether
его.
Scratch. Anyway, we can't see him anymore.
То есть мы его не видим уже, как он за экраном.
So we have to do something about it.
Вот, поэтому нужно использовать что-то другое.
Should I stop here and let you
Здесь
repeat what I've just done, or do you want me to proceed?
повторите еще раз все, что было сказано, или вы усвоили. Все понятно. Alles klar, да?
Wir können weitergehen.
Дальше все.
Okay. So we can't see Scratch anymore,
То есть
and
мы
we have to do something about this.
более и ничего по этому поводу сделать мы не можем. Scratch это название.
What we want our program to do is that instead of Scratch disappearing at the right side of the screen, we want him to stop
Вместо того, чтобы он
Before-
исчезал в правой части экрана, этот Scratch,
before Scratch disappears.
Мы можем сделать
So
так,
we have to come up with
чтобы
a
он еще
program
проявлялся не
that-
раз, например, и несколько раз перед исчезновением с экрана.
So we have to come up with a program that accomplishes this.
То есть тогда мы должны уже другую функцию, чтобы завершить этот этап программирования, использовать. Как
And
завершить задачу?
Often programming means
Чаще
designing
программирование означает
an algorithm.
использование каких-то знаков и определенного порядка.
And an algorithm is nothing else than a step, a list of steps, a list of things
Алгоритм это
a computer has to do.
определенный набор последовательности действий, который выполняется компьютером.
And I'm pretty sure most of you have heard the word algorithm in mathematics
Я уверен,
before.
что все вы слышали слово алгоритм в математике уже. Кивайте, кивайте, делайте связь обратно.
So the algorithm we want to program is that
Вот сейчас запрограммируем алгоритм определенный.
if Scratch's position is smaller than the right hand side's edge's position, Scratch can move on. If not,
Сейчас мы
he should
сделаем так,
stop.
что размер мы изменим этого скретча.
That's the program we want to design.
Двигаться, или наоборот. То есть вот сейчас такую задачу поставим, выполним. В правой стороне экрана.
So let's try this.
Давайте же пробуем.
Or let me have a look. Alright, just one more thing.
Еще одно.
When I say Scratch's position,
Когда я
I
говорю-
really mean Scratch's X position.
Когда я говорю
Its
о
position on the
положении этого
X
скретча,
axis, the horizontal
то
axis.
я имею в виду вот это
We do not
линию.
care yet about the Y position, which is the vertical axis. We just care about the
Вертикальный и
horizontal
горизонтальный,
axis.
который будет менять его положение.
And what we want is that Scratch stops moving as soon as the X coordinate, the value of the X coordinate
Что нам
is
сейчас
greater than
надо
a
сделать?
certain value
То есть,
which
например, нам надо
represents
заставить
the
этого скретча,
right hand side of our
остановиться,
screen.
как только заканчивается
I just
ось X. ось.
Try to draw this with the mouse
То
here.
есть вот там, где
on
мышь
the slide.
сейчас вводит, вот там, чтобы он остановился.
So what we do is we
Вот какой
use
набор
a
действий мы
so-called
делаем.
decision, a so-called statement, which says if
То есть сделаем некоторые
Scratch's
критерии.
position,
Если его положение,
and just let me find the position,
сейчас найдем
which is
положение,
here,
вот здесь, например.
if Scratch's X position is smaller than a certain value which represents the X position of this edge on the right hand side, then Scratch should move. So we have to come up with a
Зададим, так сказать, размер шага.
decision here, which is
И примем
If-
его решение.
the X position is smaller than, and you can see that the smaller sign here is smaller than,
Знак
let's
меньше
say,
здесь стоит,
200,
до
which
200 увеличения.
I found out is the coordinate of this axis.
То есть вот это вот
Then
координаты, это
Scratch
размер 200.
should move.
Вот сюда поставим, зададим
And we
условие,
repeat this
чтобы он
forever.
двигался вот в этом положении
So-
200. И передвинем его сюда.
Let's move.
Сейчас попробуем передвинуть.
Oh, I lost my program.
Ой,
Now let's program
потерял
it again.
немножечко тут он.
Sorry about that. forever.
Сейчас еще раз переделаю все.
If position then we want him to move 10 steps.
Сейчас на 10 шагов его передвинешь.
So let's try this.
Сейчас попробуем.
Hey!
Все, остановился.
So what we did is we wrote a program which really has all the structure, all the elements that real programs have. We have decisions, we have loops, and we will go into detail later on. So really we wrote a program. And I know it's a bit childish, but if you have kids or you know, want to teach programming to really young people, Scratches is a nice way to do this, because it's easy and you get immediate feedback, visual feedback. You can see what your program does. So before we move on, are there any questions?
Нет вопросов.
No questions yet?
Нет вопросов, хорошо.
Okay, so let's move on.
Давайте дальше пойдем.
Just one more thing, maybe, before we move on. We will talk about this in detail later, but the X position is called a variable. Who of you heard the term variable before? Anyone? No one? Alright, so what's a variable? Well, a variable is something that represents a value. In our case, the X position variable represents the horizontal position of our Scratch character. And a variable is called variable because its value can change. Its value is variable. So when Scratch moves, the value of the X position changes. And we will come back to this concept of variables later on. But I just want to have you think about variables because it's important. So variables in a program, variables represent values that can change during the lifetime of a program. When Scratch moves, the value of the X position changes. So, as I said, we programmed something really simple, but even this simple program has all the things that complex programs also have. So we really touched almost everything you need to know about programming. Now this is an overstatement, I know, but we used all the structures that are necessary in order to write a program. And I will go into details now using a different programming language. And this programming language is called Python. It's a relatively new programming language, and it's a very beginner-friendly
И он
programming
очень,
language,
как бы
which does not
ориентирован на
mean that it's
начинающих
only
программистов.
used for teaching. It's a
Используется
grown-up programming language
для
used for
преподавания
serious
и для взрослых
programs,
людей,
used for big
то
complex
есть
software
для того,
systems.
чтобы потом в дальнейшем реализовывать сложные комплексные
But
задачи.
it's a nice programming language. That's why I would like to introduce
Хорошая,
you
интересная
to
программа,
Python.
поэтому и хочу ее вам
Has
представить.
anyone done some programming in Python?
Кто-нибудь когда-нибудь
Before?
программировал в этой программе? Сергей наш тоже, да?
Alright, that's good.
Наш специалист.
So what we will talk about on the next few slides is our concepts called statements, called variables, which we already talked about a bit, our loops, which we already used, and decisions, which we also already used for our Scratch program.
С вами все задействовали в Scratch program, в программе Scratch. Все эти 4 шага.
What's a statement?
Вот, statement, то есть установка,
Well, a statement
да?
is nothing more than a command given to a computer
простая команда,
by
которая
means of
дается
a
компьютеру,
program written in a certain programming
которая
language,
пишется
like
на определенном языке
our Scratch
программирования.
programming language or
Например, наша
the
Scratch,
Python programming language
это Python,
shown on the
вот здесь
bottom of
показано,
this
как
slide.
творится команда.
So
Statement, утверждение, то, что вы задаете, понимаете? Да?
in the Scratch program shown in the middle of the slide, we can
Вот
see
здесь в середине то, что показано
several
на слайде,
statements.
это под, так сказать,
In the
утверждение.
Python program shown on the bottom of the slide, we can see just one statement. So
В программе
statements
Python,
are
например,
just
один statement, то есть одно утверждение.
programming commands. That's all.
То есть, иными словами, это просто команда, которую вы...
And I'm just mentioning the term statements because I'm going to refer to them
Почему
later
я
on.
говорю слово statement, употребляю этот термин? Потому что в дальнейшем я его буду всегда
A
употреблять.
more important concept is variables. I just skipped the slide.
Но на самом деле
I will come back to the slide
является вот этим
in a
variables.
second. A more important concept in programming is variables, which we already talked about, but I want to
Говорили,
repeat and emphasize some of the features of variables.
и дополнительные придает черты.
And I just realized that this slide is wrong. Sorry about that. There's something missing here.
Говорит, что слайд
Anyway,
немножко не тот.
we will just
Извиняется за то, что не тот слайд.
correct this slide in a second. So what's a variable? Well, as I said, it's a thing representing a value in a program.
Вот,
So instead of writing hello Frank, I can create a variable named say name, which has a certain value. The variable name's value is Frank.
Вот мое имя Франк.
So if I
Франк написано.
use the print command, which just
Если мы
prints
используем
something on the screen,
print,
shows something on the screen, it will print hello Frank.
то
That's it.
написано будет вот
Nothing more.
Hello friend. Name слово, и вот ничего не будет. Hello friend.
A variable, as I said, is called variable because its value can change over the lifetime of a program.
Variables называется, потому что это ценность, которая
And
меняется.
I'm going to show you
Сейчас
what I mean by this.
покажу на примере это.
So let's get back to the slide I skipped.
Вернемся на один слайд, который я пропустил.
For those of you who have a PC in front of you,
У кого есть компьютер перед глазами,
I would want you to go
я бы
to
хотел, чтобы вы
this
перейти
website.
вот на этот веб-сайт.
So if you go to
Если вы зайдете туда, там
Rapid.it,
есть Петербурге, да?
you get a list of programming languages, and if you just choose Python 3,
Выберите Python 3,
you will see
и вы увидите
you should see.
Должны, по крайней мере, видеть.
No, you should see the screen.
Должны увидеть этот экран.
And this is a so-called programming environment for the Python programming language right in your browser. So you do not need to install any program in order to write Python programs. You can use your browser. You could also install a Python programming environment on your PC, but doing some demo programming in a browser is much more convenient, as you can see right now. I'm just telling you a website, and we can do programming without installing any program. So let's write some Python. And I guess the font is too small for you to see. Okay, all right. So let's just. The first program programmers always write is called Hello World. So if a programmer starts with a new programming language, they always write a Hello World program. And we are going to write a Hello World program in Python. So let's write Python and run this program. Oh, I just lost my run button. Ah, here it is. Hello Python. That's all. That was simple, but a Hello World program does nothing fancy. It's just to see how a programming language looks like, that's all. So let's get back to our variables example. What I really wanted to show you is that a variable name can change. So let's do this. Variable name is, say, Frank. Let's say hello name, which prints hello Frank, because the value of name is Frank, as we told our program right in the first line. But what if we say hello, I don't know, Sophia, and do print again. Well, as you probably can tell, it will say hello Frank and then hello Sophia. And we can take this even further and write a program which asks about our name. So let's print. Sorry. We do it in a different way. Let's do it this way. We can use the import function. To input something from the user. What's your name? And if we run this, we will be asked what's our name, and we can enter something, say Frank, and if I press enter, the next command will be executed, which is print hello and the value of name. So we have a couple of concepts already in our program. We have variables, well, just one variable, name, but also we have functions. We have the print function, which executes so-called behavior, some part of a program which just prints something on our screen. Here or here. So print just prints something. The input function does the opposite. Instead of printing something, it reads something from the user. So the user can type in something on his or her keyboard. And we can then make use of this input, user input. So maybe we have a quick break here and I just
немножечко
try to answer questions if there are some questions. Anything unclear up to now?
Что-то может быть непонятно.
Any questions?
Вопросы?
No questions?
Нет вопросов.
All right.
Ну хорошо.
Then let's continue.
Тогда продолжим.
Another thing we already saw in our Scratch program were so-called
другую функцию, которую мы видели в программе Scratch,
so we,
loops.
instead of repeating a command over and over again, we can use a loop. Instead of, for example,
мы используем эту функцию loops.
Making Scratch move,
То есть заставим
say 5 times. Right? This would make Scratch move 5 times.
Вот это сейчас заставит
We could use a loop instead.
Вместо этого можем использовать клавишу вот эту функцию loop.
Repeat,
которая будет повторять это движение.
5 times the move command.
И 5 раз она повторит команду двигаться.
This and this are equivalent. They are the same. They do the same. They have the same result. But as a programmer, you would prefer the right-hand approach. Because if you decide that you want to move, say, 15 times, you just change one number in your loop instead of adding 10 more move commands, which is nonsense. So the concept of loops, of repetitions, exists in all programming languages. And the Python programming language has so-called for loops. And they are called for loops because we use the so-called keyword, which is a command, the keyword for, to tell Python this is a loop. So if you look at this Python program, for I in range 1 to 10, print I equals I. What would you expect this program to do? Anyone has an idea?
Or или. Print, вводить информацию, да?
Будет равно и цифра добавить.
Нет пользы.
A random number. Why a random?
Ну, в рандом.
I can see the command random.
Can you see random?
Ну там студент утверждает, что пойдет в рандомном порядке. И он
Range.
утверждает.
Is the font too small? Is the font too small for you to see?
Maybe yes.
Just a second. I can zoom in a bit. Is that better?
Yes.
Alright, sorry about this. I didn't realize it's too small for you. So, should I even zoom in more? Do you want me to zoom in more?
Размер не надо?
No? Alright. So, the program says for I in range, not random, range, 1, 10, print I equals I.
Maybe
What would you think the program does?
And then
Huh? Right. So let's do this in our Python programming environment.
Вернемся к программе Python и введем этот порядок. Python.
Питон.
Не питон, да? У нас питон.
Python. Английский. TX. Python.
Oh. I forgot the column here. There has to be a column after a for loop, because it tells Python which
Двоеточие должно быть после команды повтор.
statements to execute as part of the loop, which is basically the same as we have with our loops. The thing inside our Scratch loops is basically the same we see here. It's the so-called block.
То, что мы здесь вот видим в этой строчке.
So if we do this now, we can see that it, of course, prints all the values from 1 to 9. So range produces something that goes from 1 to the second number, excluding the number. So you get a range from 1 to 1 minus the number you put here. And as you can see, we repeat this loop 9 times over and over again.
10 движений можете сделать, или не надо каждую цифру вводить. 1,10 и 20 движений. То есть минуя 2-3, тогда это все цифры.
So we can have loops which have more than just one command, as we saw with our Scratch forever loop. So in our Python program, we could, for example, say we want to calculate the square of each value of I. So let's have a new variable called square, which is, of course, the value of I multiplied by itself.
Square квадрат, то есть это ценность 1
and then we print
умноженное на 1. И print команду.
This square value. I times, well, let's do this. Well, first of all, I times I equals
I равно.
Where? So what would you expect the program to print?
Что здесь программа напечатает?
Переменная от 1 до 9 будет читаться квадрат переменной.
Anyone has an idea?
От 1 до 9 будет читаться квадрат от 1 до 3, 4 до 9.
Alright, I can see you figured this out, right? Let's see if I did this correctly. Whoa, it works.
Все правильно, да?
So if I has the value of 1, of course the square of 1 is 1. If it's 2, it's 4, if it's 3, it's 9, and so on, up to 81, which is the square of 9. So we can even make this more pretty if we say, okay, we want to see what the value of I really is and what we really square. So we print I times I equals square. And if we run this program now, we can even see that we have the actual value of I printed for us, and then the square value. Okay? Right. So, any questions so far?